Hello everybody, I am the Happy Egg and this is the ToughEggs. Today I wanted to do a quick video showing off some various roof designs in Minecraft and specifically talking about how to improve your roof builds on all the buildings you make in Minecraft. So first of all, we're going to go through some different designs and we'll just talk about what sort of houses they may be used on and where they may look best and what you can do to really make them look good. So first of all, we have some very simple gable style roofs. So this style is considered an open gable. So obviously you can see here I've used stairs just up and down one side, same here just with a bit of a bottom. That is just to show off the basic of the basic when it comes to roofs. You could also add in some bricks instead, and rather than using stairs you could use bricks if you wanted a harder angle sort of thing, because obviously with the stairs you have more of an angled incline as it goes up, whereas the bricks are a lot steeper and I suppose more Minecrafty in a way. Another option is the A-frame style of roof. So the A-frame, called that because as you see it's shaped in an A shape. You can actually, if you make a bigger one than I've done here, you could make multiple levels in the roof of the A-frame. So you could do windows up here, windows down here, you know, and then you would have, say you have base level such as this here, and then you have the A-frame on top. You could actually have a 3-tier house inside of one A-frame, 2 of the tiers being inside the roof. So that is just a simple A-frame, just 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, but you could also do more blocks than that going up, or you could even do what I've done over here, which is add stairs to the side to add less of a steep angle to the edges as it goes up. I've also then just added a half block to the top just to add more height, because if you have a look at it without it, it doesn't quite look right in my opinion. It doesn't quite have the same height as this here, and it looks a lot better with that extra half block on top. So then over here you have what is known as a hip, which is really simple, a hip style roof, which is that you do the angling so that it goes from all the different sides, all 4 sides, straight into the middle at the top. I've done this with stairs. You can also do it with blocks, especially if you're doing a bigger build, as blocks often look better from a distance, especially on bigger builds, but more on that later. So then you can also do what is here, which is a bonnet style roof, which is a simple hip style roof with then an extra outer skirting which sticks out and is held up by some fence posts, which make it look like a bonnet, kind of like a gazebo sort of thing. It just adds a bit more to the build, and you could actually use this area underneath the bonnet. So you can also then build more of your building underneath the edge of the bonnet. You could make the bonnet further out. It doesn't need to be 2 blocks out. You could make it much wider. You could make it 5 blocks out, whatever you want. It adds more of a roof covering though, which doesn't have to actually be on the house. It also doesn't have to be equal on all sides. So you could have it 2 blocks, 2 blocks, 2 blocks, and then this side here could be 5 blocks out and it could be longer. And obviously, depending on how big you make the bonnet, you can then extend the fence posts around it and you can add more of a structure to the roof. Okay? Then you have the simple flat roof, which is exactly what this is here. So, as you see, just simple blocks going across. I did give it a bit of a lip out to the edges just because I feel that looks a lot better than, say, this, which is, well, very basic, very boring, and doesn't look good at all. To be honest, this style of roof in general is not something I would say to use for a build, mostly because it doesn't really fit with any sort of build I can think of, nor does it actually look good. So I would avoid that, but that is an option if you really wanted to. Then you have another style of flat roof, which is the castle style roof. So obviously you can see here exactly what I've done. I've just done some blocks and some half blocks, just going in a pattern, simple all the way around. Now if your building is even, such as this one here, then obviously you're going to end up where you get towards the middle and you have 2 blocks like this. So if you are going to do a castle roof, I might recommend doing it an odd size number of blocks all the way around, just so that this pattern on the top can end up even, which sounds odd. Okay, so that is another style. You could obviously add a lot more detail to that. It doesn't have to be exactly level with the building. You could do this section actually come out one block, and then you could make the roof section one block wider. And that would maybe add more size to the roof, as well as adding more shape and depth to the building. But that is the general idea of the castle style roof. Simple but effective. Then you have this style of roof here, which is yet another style of flat roof. However, this style I feel is more in fitting with some sort of office type building. So you could make this on the top of, imagine a huge building with loads and loads of windows going all the way up, and then at the very top, you're definitely not going to want, well, you're not going to want any of these other roofs across here. Like, if you're making a modern style office building, you aren't going to then want a giant A-frame roof on the top. That might look really, really weird. So more than likely, you're going to go for some style of flat roof. Now, I would personally recommend you add a bit of an overhang like I've done here, where it sticks out on all sides, especially if you're then adding detail to your windows, such as, you know, a window frame around the bottom sort of thing, say your window's there, you know, that sort of thing. I feel like you need the extra block out, otherwise the roof is going to look really odd if it's all in line with the main part of the building and there's no extra depth to the top of the building. Now, you could also then do what I've done here, which is put stairs all the way around to show that this block on the side is held on from not only the bottom but also the top. You could also then go ahead and actually add half slabs to the top. Now, they could be the exact same color as these blocks here, so the polished andesite, or you could make them out of the different block to show that it's either an extra floor if you're wanting the roof to be usable, or you could then just make it out of a block of your choice, just any block that you want, especially if you're looking down from above. You could have it like this and have it as just a black roof which is surrounded by the polished andesite on the edges. Then you have a more modern style of roof, which is the butterfly style of roof. So I think you can understand why it's called the butterfly, but essentially I would consider this to be a very modern style. You could use this on a lot of modern builds. Obviously, the issue with this style of roof is that towards the middle of the building, you are going to have a much lower height than towards the outside. Also, depending on the size of the building you do, you could end up with the outside of the building being really high if you're not careful with how you build this. If you're going to make the building quite long with a butterfly style roof, then I would recommend making the incline a bit slower. So rather than doing what I've done, which is one half, one block, one half, one block, then I would recommend maybe doing 2 or 3 halves and then doing 2 or 3 blocks, if you catch me. So something similar to this, but obviously not quite how I'm doing it, you know, sort of like that. And just make it so that rather than it being 1 block per level or 1 half block per level, make it 2, make it 3, whatever, depending on how big you're planning to make the building. And again, if you're doing a building like this, it would probably be something modern and something with a lot of glass, possibly even something with a lot more framing support, so maybe some beams going up holding the roof up. It could be a very open plan building with this sort of roof, I feel. And that same thing applies to the next one, which is essentially a half butterfly, but the actual name for it is either a shed roof or a lean-to roof. So obviously one side is higher than the other. Now, I would use this in modern builds personally. I don't think it fits with many other styles of builds. And again, the same rules apply. I would add some sort of framing and structure, some sort of beams holding it up, or you could just do a massive glass building. You could even add this as an extra onto the side of a building. So imagine this is here, and then on the right here is yet another building which it connects to, which is taller and has its own roof higher up. So obviously that's just another little idea for a roof. Then you've got this here. Now this is a very interesting one. This is a salt box roof. I don't really know what I would use this for. My personal thought is that I would use this for either a modern build, because modern builds tend to have very quirky style roofs in my opinion, or I would use it for maybe a sort of country style barn type of build, something along those lines, just because the shape in general, to me, it feels like it could work for a barn or an outhouse or something like that. Because obviously one side again would be slightly taller than the other, but say if you wanted to add, I don't know, if you wanted to add a stable or an area for animals on one side, you could put that on the lower side and then have the higher side as the actual entrance. So over here would be the entrance, and then over here would be the barn area. This is the final design I'm going to show you. The rest, I do have more designs, however they will be in the later section of the video, as I actually have buildings already made in my own cities which I can show off with these designs, which will help show them off a lot better, I feel. These designs here I do not use in my cities. I use a few of the ones on the end, the hip and gable and stuff. However, the flat and such like this, the butterfly and these modern style roofs, I don't really use myself because that's not the style of city or buildings I've gone for. However, the styles I will show you later on will be in my own city, and therefore they will look a lot better, and I'll be able to better show off the type of design I'm talking about. So this is the final one, and this is a clerestory, or clerestory, or whatever you want to call it. I don't know how you're meant to pronounce it, but essentially it is a lean-to and another lean-to, one which is taller than the other, and they're both back to back. And obviously what you could do with this build, I feel like this might work in a country or style sort of thing, or again a modern one. You could cover this entire top section with windows. Now the style of window you use would probably determine whether this was a country style building or a modern one. Say if you just did massive panes of glass going all the way across, I would consider that to be a modern one. Whereas if you did, say, arch style windows just every now and again, I would consider that to be more of a country style build, if you understand what I'm saying. And again, you've got obviously a lower side and a higher side, so it's entirely up to you which side you would want to be the front of the build. In fact, you could even have the side as the front of the building, depending on what you're planning to do with the building. But the point is, it's a very unique style of roof, and I do like it, and I do believe I'm gonna use this in some way in one of my cities at some point, because I am actually quite interested in this style of roof. So yeah, that's just a clerestory style roof. Okay, so now I'm just going to show you a few quick and easy tips and tricks for improving your roofs in Minecraft. So I'm using the gable style roof. I'm going to show you how to make it go from this, which is very basic, has no depth, no real shape to it other than this basic up and down arch, to something which is much more palatable, I would say. So the first step I would say to improve a simple roof like this is to add a little skirting to the edges. By adding this little skirting here on either side, you're actually making it straight away have more depth to the building, and you're also giving some space to add window framing and other things without it looking odd. So just imagine right there is a window, and because of that extra bit, that lip that's hanging out to the side, it actually doesn't look insanely ridiculous there. So just imagine something exactly like that, you know, little window frame going around. You could also obviously make this go out one further. Now whether you do it like that or whether you simply add another layer underneath like so is entirely up to you. The thing you have to remember though is that the further out you send this lip, the less height for the side of the building that you have. So obviously with this lip here, this window no longer gets that extra block above it, which can add a lot to the build. So personally, I would go like this with just one block out either side. However, it's entirely up to you and entirely dependent on the style of building you're going for and what you think looks best. Just do what you're happy with. But these are just my ideas. So then another easy improvement is to add yet another lip to the building, but this time on the side. So you would obviously add it on that side as well, but I haven't completed that side. So you would add this lip on this side, and then this lip on this side, and again, same thing as before, adds more depth, more shape to the build, and adds room for you to add window framing on this side, which won't look ridiculously out of place if you had a flat side. Now, to improve the side skirting that you've just added, you're simply going to want to go along and you want to add in some stairs underneath. Now, this makes it go from that blocky side like you've seen over here. You've got this horrible blocky side that goes up, and it looks ugly and horrible. It makes it go from that to a nice angled slant exactly the same as you've got above. It fills it out nicely, it just looks good, it looks much better than that, and it's just such a simple thing to add so much extra shape and make it look so much nicer on your build. On top of that, we also have these half slabs which I added to the side of the bottom. So as you can see, that is with and that is without. Now, I personally like it with, because again, if you're going to the trouble of adding these stairs underneath here, then I feel it's worth it just to go to the trouble to add these little half blocks on the side, as it straight away it adds, again, the same things. It adds more depth, it adds more shape, and it looks really good. Now, it is also important to remember you don't have to make these side skirtings out of the exact same blocks as the roof. So you could do something like so, where you add a side skirting in out of a completely different style of block. You can even connect the roof to the side of the building using this overhang here. So if you add in some sort of block like a staircase to the underneath, like so, then that adds a little connecting frame to the side and kind of makes it look like it's, you know, it's holding on to the side. That it kind of adds support for the overhang on the roof. Now, on these end bits here, it doesn't quite look right to have it as a staircase like that. I would recommend doing the half block on the ends, but on the actual sides, I would like to add stairs in a lot of my builds. I have a bit of a mixture between the half blocks and the stairs, but again, it depends on the look of the building, the style of the building, and also what you think looks best. I think the half blocks look best, however I do occasionally use stairs as a form of support, especially on more country style farm type buildings. So then another simple thing you can do is you can actually add this little bit across the middle. I don't know if there's any sort of name or word for it. If there is, please let me know. However, this sort of thing is only available to build on a house which is an odd number of blocks wide. So if you're planning on making a double door to your build, this won't work on the top, because you cannot have a double door with that. It would need to be a single door or a free wide door or whatever, but this sort of thing has to be on an odd sized building. So it's just like a little overhang. It doesn't have to be made out of the same blocks. You could make it out of the exact same blocks as you made the rest of the roof out of, which in this case is just bricks. Or you could do what I've done here, and you could use a different style of brick, or you could use some black stone or whatever you wanted, because the whole point of this is to add more colour and more shape to your roof. Because from a distance, the thing with roofs that are all one colour is that from a distance they look a bit bland. They don't really look very nice. You can't really see the shape properly if you're looking at it from certain angles, like this angle right here on this roof. You kind of see what's what, but you can't fully tell. Meanwhile, if you actually go over here and look at it from this place, then you can easily see that this is an angled roof that goes up, and you can tell where the middle on the top is. You can tell where the front is as this extra little overhang, and depending on the type of block you use, it can look really good on a build. I will show more of that later, and in ways that look a lot better than this. This is just a very simple example of what I'm talking about. Alright, so now it's time for a few examples of other types of roofs which I did not show you before, because this time I can show them for real in my city. Obviously my city is not finished, however I do have lots of different examples of roofs in this city that I have not shown previously. So first we have a pointed or peaked or spiked type roof, exactly like this. They can go up in this way like I've done here, so you've got 2 blocks, 1 block, 2 blocks, 1 block, etc. all the way to the top. Or you can do what I did up here, which is simply, I actually did 1 block up to about halfway, and then I did 2 blocks up to make it look a lot sharper at the top. You can also see straight away in this city examples of what I was talking about earlier with this extra little lip that covers the edges. So yeah, you can cover the top with that, and then I like to make lines going down the side. It adds a bit more framing to the roof, I believe. And again, you can see what I said about the overhang. So you have the overhang here, and then you have the window frame beneath it. It just looks good. It adds a lot of depth and a lot of shape to the building, which otherwise isn't there, especially if you do your windows flat against it without any sort of framing that sticks out. I would recommend doing framing that sticks out on most sections of your build, including your doors, your windows, and your roofs. So then, on top of the spiked slash pointed style roof, you also have the dome style roof, which is exactly what this is. Now this is a rather large example of what I'm talking about, and once again you see I have the extra framing going across the top and converging in the center. But ultimately, yeah, this is literally a giant dome. You can see it from the inside here. It's very big and it takes a lot of time to make. But on a build like this is sort of the best type of roof to do. So essentially, if you're doing a build that is round in shape, then the type of roof you're going to do is generally going to end up being either a dome or a spike or something along those lines, because other types of roofs, such as a hip or a gabled style roof, such as this here, this style of roof would not work on that build for obvious reasons, or reasons I should hope are obvious. So yeah, then next up you will have a curved shape roof, which is exactly what this is here. So this is a curve, it just exactly what it says in the tin. It's not quite a dome or anything like that, because obviously it doesn't go all the way around. However, it is a simple curve that goes up and down, and yeah, what I haven't done here is added any stairs, so I've done mine entirely out of blocks. That's because I felt it looked better on this particular build. However, what you could do is add stairs along these sections here, here, and here to make it less of a sharp curve. However, when you're doing a dome or when you're doing a curve like this, especially on large scales like this, large size buildings, I would actually recommend avoiding the stairs, as the roofs can look a lot better with these sort of shapes without the stairs. The stairs kind of take away from the shape. If you're trying to go for a rounder shaped roof in any regards, stairs don't really work in my opinion. That applies to this roof, that applies to the domes over there, and that applies to this one on top of this large building here, which I've actually decided, rather than doing an overhang out of the same material as is on the roof, the prismarine, I decided to make the overhang actually part of the window frame, which is what I've done right here. So the window frame, it goes all the way up and connects to where the overhang should be. And that, again, that's just, it depends on the exact style of building. There's no certain formula for the perfect roof for the perfect building. I could have done a flat roof on this, which would be in the style of, say, an office building in a big city or something, but because of the style of my city, I didn't feel as though that sort of roof would fit on this building or in this city. So you have to take into account what's around the build that you're making and everything else as well when you're trying to come up with the right style of roof for the building you're making. So then, along with the dome and the curved and all these other ones, you also have this one over here, which is you have hip or gable style roofs, but you then have some stepping around the edges, like so. So rather than there being any sort of overhang coming away from the roof, the overhang is actually just made out of the actual blocks that the building is made out of. So it's called stepping, and you can see why right here. It's like a little step up that goes all the way around. And then what I've done on these flatter sides, which don't have to be stepped up, because again I didn't want the overhang from the actual roof, I've just added the castle style wall all the way around here like this. And again, this is kind of a thing about roofs. You can mix and match with the style of roof that you're doing. Okay, so a few important things to remember when it comes to building roofs in Minecraft. One is that you do not have to use the same material for your roof as you've used for the rest of the building. I know that seems obvious, but it's surprising how often I see builds which have stone brick walls and then a stone brick roof, and it's just essentially a giant grey building which does not look good at all. Whereas in this case, I like to do my roofs out of a different material. Now, because I am building a city, I chose a theme for that city and a block style for that city, and in this case I have chosen the prismarine and the stone brick as sort of the two main ones, which I'm then using as you see here. I'm sticking to that colour scheme with the sort of blues and turquoises and such throughout the builds. So that's one thing, but again, you don't have to make them out of any type of stone or prismarine. You can make them out of wood, such as over there. You can make it out of dirt if you really wanted to. It just depends on what you're planning to build. But also remember that the type of block you use doesn't have to be the same. So you can use stairs, you can use half slabs, or you can use full blocks. They all work. You can also use glass. Glass is a really good one for if you're doing, say, a flat roof. If you're doing a flat roof, then you could use the glass to make a skylight, or you could use the glass to make some sort of dome or something on the top of things. So this building right here is my university building. It has this on the top, which is, it's a giant skylight. It's kind of a squared off dome shape, but the point is, it's a part of the roof. This is a big part of the roof. It is the centerpiece of the roof, and again though, it's made out of glass, and from the inside it looks really good. So one thing to consider would be to consider what the roof will look like on the inside. And finally, something I would recommend considering quite heavily as you're building is perspective. So if you're looking at your building, does that building look good with the roof that you have on it? But I feel it's important to point out that when you build any building, there is always going to be a side of that building which doesn't quite look at how you might want it to. Now, obviously from below, such as down here, on this building right in front of me, you cannot see the roof properly. All you see is the basic shape that goes across like that, but you can't see the top of the roof and you can't see any of the other detail on that roof. But from an angle such as over here, you can see the roof a lot better, and you can tell the shape and the size of the building from this angle. So you're never gonna get every angle to look exactly how you might want it to look and exactly perfect. That's just a fact of not just Minecraft but life. Every building has a side which looks ugly or weird or may not look symmetrical even. But I feel the most important thing is to focus on the side that you're going to see the most. So in the case of this building, which is my centerpiece / palace building, the roof on the top of this is actually huge. I believe it's something like 50 blocks tall or something. However, this building was made to reach the build height, so it's 200. This building from that bit down there, which is something like 61 or 62 at the base, it goes all the way up to 256. So this building is about 200 blocks high. The roof is something like 50 maybe, for 40 blocks high. And that sounds like a lot, but ultimately from down below, it doesn't look right. If you look at this building from all the way down here, you can't even see the roof. You can literally see the edge of the top of the roof, and you can't really make out the actual shape of the roof. But the point is, this view from down here, not even from up here, even this is too high. The general view of this roof is going to be from all the way down here, and when you look up at it, that is what you're going to see. Obviously, that is not the view that I find ideal. I don't think that roof looks very good from this angle, but that's kind of the problem with a building that high, especially if the rest of the buildings are so low down. You're not going to be able to see it from any good angle. So I tried to make it look good from the best angle, but I couldn't. In fact, the best angle to look at this building from is high up in the sky and rather far away, such as over here, because you can finally make out the shape and size, and the roof looks good. And this is the angle that I'm happy with this roof. But unfortunately, you can't always have it the way you want it, so not every building you're going to end up with a roof that actually looks how you're expecting it to. But yeah, that's about everything I have to teach with regards to building roofs in Minecraft. So if there's any other information you'd like to know, please leave a comment and like and subscribe if you found any of this useful or helpful. And thank you for watching, and have a nice day.